Dort. Down to Dort. This is Lee Dort, and I'm down to dunk. This is Lee Dort, and I'm down to Dort.
I'm Josh Giddey, and I'm down to dunk.
Hey, this is Kenny Hustle, and I'm down to dunk.
I'm Darius Baisley, and I'm down to dunk.
I'm Mike Muscala, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Poku, and I'm down.
I love cereal. Captain Crunch, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Cracklin' Oat Bran.
Oh, I can have these. I'm going to share with my team, but I'm going to hog most of them.
Welcome to Down to Dunk. I'm your host, Andrew Schleck. We're part of the Athletic Podcast Network. With me today, as always, on Mondays, is my good friend, Michele Barrett. Michele, what's up?
Well, we witnessed 2 hours and 15 minutes of very interesting stuff. I listened to them all. Like, it was something.
It was honestly, it was great. One, there's not a lot of GMs that would spend 2 hours and 13 minutes talking to the media. Is wonderful. And it was long. It was a marathon. Full disclosure, I had to pee starting about an hour in. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to be fine. We're an hour in. We'll be good. I was just ill prepared, honestly, for the situation. But, I'm a little stronger. My bladder is a little more stretched out now. And I think we have a little bit better of an idea of what's going to happen with the Thunder this summer and moving forward. So newsy things before we get into team building things. Poku and Josh Giddey are going to play in Summer League. So the Thunder are playing in two leagues. They're playing in the Utah League and in the Las Vegas Summer League. Mm-hmm. And Poku's going to play in both, which I think is great. It's great for him, great for us, great for everybody. And then in Utah, they're going to have more of like their roster guys playing in Summer League. And so Josh Giddey will play, which I didn't think we were going to get to see Josh play until October. Yeah. And so I think it's super cool. I think that's a great thing for Thunder fans that are looking forward to what this summer could bring.
Yeah, no, that is good. I mean, the Utah one is the fact that they are playing in Utah and not in Vegas is at least Giddey. It's a bit weird. I mean, it's totally Thunder. I mean, yeah. They want to avoid Giddey and the flashy stuff. I mean, Giddey was about to play in. He did play for 5 minutes last year, so it's quite interesting to me that they want to have him there in Utah at least for a couple of nights, and we'll see how that goes.
I think he play at all. I didn't think he would play this summer in a place where we could watch him at all.
Yeah.
So I'm satisfied. I had like zero expectations of Vegas being a real thing for him.
Yeah, no, same here. I wonder what will happen with Trey Mann, but if Giddey is playing, then probably he will also play some.
Trey said he's playing Summer League, but he didn't specify which one, but I assume that when we ask him that, he means Vegas.
Yeah.
Because no one says, I'm playing in Summer League, and they mean Utah.
How so? That's weird to me.
But yeah,
it's going to be an awesome Summer League anyway.
Oh, it's going to be.
If Trey Mann is playing and you have the 7th first-round pick from next year playing as well, that's going to be amazing.
Yeah, the 7th pick.
Yeah, of course. To be honest with you,
that's the thing. And we had a little mini pod on Friday night, Alex and I.
Yeah,
and for some reason, it just softens the blow of getting bad luck as having 7 and 12 rather than 7 and 15. It just feels better. It may not be better.
No,
maybe Giannis is at 15 again and we don't know it, but it at least feels better today.
Yeah, but those odds are not meaningless. Like, I keep saying this, but it's like you have the same odds because you have, in the end, you have 140 combinations now instead of 125. That is not nothing. To me, it's extremely meaningful that you get a pick that has the potential to add something. Of course, those 15 combinations extremely unlikely to be picked. Mm-hmm. Even if watching the presser, I was spinning on Tankathon, like, and I did 15 spins, and in 4 of them, we got like 2 top 3 picks, which tells me that either I was extremely lucky, or I was extremely lucky because there is no other explanation.
Yeah. Well, he talked a lot about the lottery and about what this team needs, and like he just seems to be in such a good place as opposed to a lot of us when it comes to the lottery, because he's just like, listen, we have no control over it. What's going to happen is going to happen. And he understands that like that first era of the Thunder is like there's a lot of luck there. And he admits that I can't take credit for a lot of things that happened. He said, you look at the playoffs right now, and the teams that are in position to win right now, like the Timberwolves are a giant example of this, is that there's a lot of luck that happened.
They had 2 first round picks.
Yeah.
Like 2 number 1 picks.
Yeah. And they were they were in position to trade for Andrew Wiggins, who was also the first pick in the draft too.
Yeah.
I mean, they've had 3 guys, and D'Angelo Russell was the second pick, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, like they've been in position, like they put themselves in a position to have all these guys that were picked in the top 5, which is what you want. Like if you're the Thunder, that's what you want, is to be able to do that. And there's a much clearer path. And I was trying to ask him about that. Like, what does it look like if you don't get lucky? And it's complicated, but they're prepared to move forward. He was exceedingly confident that they're going to be a good team, and a lot of it is about.
I think a great team.
A lot of it is about Shea. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's very confident in the future of this team. A lot of it is about Shea. Yeah. And he talked a lot about the kind of player he is, and he told the story about the night that they traded Russell Westbrook. He said they had gotten everything finalized, all the details were done. He had just gotten off the phone with Daryl Morey. He said he's walking the halls of the facility. Nobody's there. He said maybe 3 people were at the facility, and he could hear a ball bouncing in the gym. And he walks over there and he looks through. So how the Thunder practice facility is, there's all these offices that have windows into the gym. And so the guys that are sitting in there working can see into the gym. And so he walked into one of the offices and saw that it was Shea working out. And he said he didn't have Thunder gear on, and that he was like, how does this guy not have Thunder gear on? But they had just acquired him because the Paul George trade had just happened just a few days earlier. And so he just thought that he said in his head, like he hadn't felt confident to share that story yet, in that he looked in there and was like, if he ends up being good, like this is
going to be a moment.
Yeah, this is going to be a story that I tell. And he said, I feel confident enough to tell this story today about Shea because I think he's going to be a really good player. Yeah,
and to me, one of the things that was more enlightening to me about the future of this team is he hinted, but he wanted a clear answer. And so after your question, and the following answer to me was really clarifying. And it's a little bit what I was thinking, that it's absolutely out of the question to make any move to improve the roster from outside.
Happening. It's not happening.
But that is what I think it's the plan. I mean, and to me, when he discussed about the button, the speed up button, the fact that you push it once and you don't have it anymore in the future, that to me is, hey, we have the assets to push a button and being very, very good very, very soon. Yeah. We have it. We are not going to use it next year, but we want this team to tell us where they are. Yeah, these are not exact words, but they want the team to assert. I think the wording was, the team has to assert itself. And this is where I think my hopes are probably a little bit higher than yours in terms of, hey, if Shea is that good, like story of the gym at night, good, and a couple of guys improves in a better way than we anticipate, and also to connect to something that Presti said before, like he said, hey, the first pick that we will get in next year draft will not be the reason why we're good next year.
Yeah, he said that. Yeah, he acted
the improvement will come from the roster. So I think that it's clear to me that Presti is pretty confident that this team will not be a terrible team next season, and that they are prepared to shift one spot or the other, just to let this team roll if there is something consequential to play for, or to just pivot back to development and to bringing the hardship guys in before. It was also very, very clear and very funny. So that to me was really, really informative of what we should expect from next season.
Yeah. I mean, they're obviously going to let this team declare themselves, is what everybody keeps saying. But man, I don't know. I guess we'll find out, because they're going to bring, he made it clear that they're going to try to bring on, 3 or 4 rookies to this team.
Yeah.
Season. And
always compete.
It's just going to be really interesting, because he knows that there's not enough roster spots available. Alex and I went through it last week on the podcast. Like, there's just not enough roster spots for everybody, and they're going to just let it ride out and see who's good enough. And he's like, if it's the guys on the roster, great. If it's our draft picks, great. Like, he said they're going to eat money somewhere with this roster and with these players. Like, it's going to happen, because they're going to have to cut good players.
Yeah.
He talked about that too, which, the guys that we discussed cutting last Wednesday, it's like, okay, that'd be okay.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. Another thing that I'm torn on this matter. It's the Bazley matter. He was kind of prideful, like not prideful, but also a little bit, hey, I want to get this thing out. Like the fact that a lot of the media, hey, I'm one of, not really media, but I was very,
I was like, you can say my name if you'd like to.
Yeah, exactly. We were very, very harsh on Bazley at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
But he used Bazley's story to say, hey, things changed during the season. I think that Bazley changed a lot. I'm not there. Like, I'm just not there. I'm not sold on Bazley being a contributor for a good team. I think that he improved during the season, sure. But I still see a player that had his best season efficiency-wise in year 1 of his career, when he just had to catch and shoot. And the defense, I know that the block stuff is very good. The block foul rate is extremely good. But if you're talking, I'm not hearing you.
So more blocks and fouls is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is cool. But it's also something that he said at the beginning, like physicality. I think that a lot of time Bazley shies away from bodies, and this is why he doesn't commit fouls. So I'm really curious, because if Presti sees something in Bazley, then clearly I'm missing something, because his eyes are way better than mine. And so I'm really, really curious that he chose Bazley, and he chooses to say that about Bazley. And you don't do that if you think, hey, I might just be done with this guy.
Yeah.
So he clearly believes in him, and so that to me is one of the, again, another point that maybe was just a moment, but I think that it's telling me something about the future that I want to see that, because my eyes tell me another story, and I want to see this story that Presti is hinting to us.
He also said Ty Jerome's name more times than I expected, which I think was twice. But
yeah, once I think that he intentionally used Ty because he was about to use another name, and
Mhm.
in his head, he just no, that name I used too much. Then Ty. So,
Mhm.
but yeah,
I don't take a lot away from that, but I just thought that was kind of interesting.
yeah.
He also said that the G League doesn't want the Thunder or the blue team to play in the arena, which I thought was kind of interesting. And I think it has to do with the fact that, and he kind of hinted at this, I think it has to do with the fact that it looks like cavernous, giant in there. And there's like, it looks like
Nobody.
4 people are in there. And
Yeah.
so I think they want more of like a small gym feel. And he hinted also at the possibility of them building their own blue facility, but that's not that big of a deal in comparison. The main things he wanted to focus on were that he doesn't focus on time.
Yeah.
With regards to the rebuild. He doesn't look at he just thinks that if he like basically said if you're focusing on time, like you're going to lose the game. Like he said, he wants to,
Clock watcher against
if you're-
space setter.
yeah. He wants to stay true to like their mission and not think like, but if I don't have it done by this time, like we could. And I mean, to me, I just kept thinking of Sacramento over and over again. And he talked about this accelerator button at the end of the press conference where he's like protecting that button, because we've seen it from teams like Sacramento over and over again, where they've got some good players and they just hit the fast forward button trying to bring guys in. Like they bring in, like I remember years ago, they brought in Rondo and Marco Bellinelli because they had seen some good things from some of their young guys. And so they're like, oh, great, let's overpay for these guys, bang, bang, and our team's going to be better. And it ended up being very detrimental to their team. It brought them closer to the middle, which made their draft pick worse. And then it is what continues to set them back every single year. And you wonder why. Like, how does Sacramento get stuck in this vortex of losing? Well, it's because they have no discipline and that they do operate on a timeline. Look at, Orlando. Think about the Orlando rebuild as it was, where they traded Victor Oladipo and Domantas Sabonis for Serge Ibaka, which at the time was kind of like, oh, this is very interesting. And it ended up being a horrific trade for Orlando. It ended up turning into Terrence Ross because they traded Ibaka to Toronto for Terrence Ross. And
was it the season after or the same season?
As what?
As the how many seasons?
In the same season they traded Ibaka.
Yeah, that's insane.
And that was a watching the clock, like, okay, it's been enough time. We're going to have to try. Like, this is what Sam was talking about.
Yeah.
Even in situations that he's like taking advantage of the clock watchers, which was what the Magic were doing. And probably because of ownership, we're saying like, you don't have time to do this. And if you think about it, like they could have held on to that team and been good, been a lot better than they have been over the past few years if they would have just remained patient. I think that's what like Presti's hinting at. It's like, we're not going to be forced into a corner, even with the 2023 thought, where I think it's easy to see the Thunder have lined everything up for 23. Their books are completely clean with regards to flexibility money-wise. The 23 draft is a very good draft. And the new CBA is going to be ratified. Like all 3 of those things are very important to the Thunder with regards to the rebuild. But if they're not ready to become a good team or a great team or jump the middle, then he's not going to be beholden to that timeline.
No, that is to me was, and I mean, again, it was crystal clear. There is no doubt that he will not speed up this team. And I mean, there are examples that are still up in the air. I mean, the Hawks. The Hawks made
a giant example of hitting the button whenever it wasn't time. And Trae Young is
but let's give them the benefit of the doubt. They went deep.
They
in the
did.
Playoffs. They might get out in the first round this year.
I mean,
one thing
That's a strong statement with how they looked and the injuries they're dealing with.
Yeah, exactly. They might. It's probably going to happen.
It's not.
But at least, I mean, the fact that they didn't spend too much in terms of assets gives them a floor to how far they can drop after these moves. But you're right. I mean, why not waiting a few seasons? Maybe you can get something out of Cam Reddish instead of like trading him away from Kevin Knox. Maybe you can like set a core that is a little bit more strong of Trae Young and Hunter and why it's skipping Herder. Yes. So you may have a different. You can give more space to a Congo. So there are so many things.
I mean, the thing is,
and again,
they could have been in position to, and maybe the conference finals is like, maybe it's such an outlier thing where it's just like, it's fine. Like, we want that experience for them. We would sacrifice the 8th pick for that. Like, that's fine. We don't care.
Yeah.
But perhaps if you don't hit the fast forward button, you don't bring in Gallo, Bogdanovich, all those things. Maybe you have Franz Wagner that's going to grow with those guys.
Oh, yeah.
And then you feel a lot better about your core, or Jonathan Kuminga, or, maybe you have one of those guys.
Maybe have Giddey.
I mean, Jalen, like somebody else, Scotty Barnes, if you got really lucky and you had Scotty Barnes on that team.
Or Mobley. You may be extremely lucky and get Mobley, and then you're crazy talented if you had a guy like that.
Yeah. Instead, they added Jalen Johnson, who we weren't big Jalen Johnson guys, and he hadn't played for them, and maybe he develops into something. But it's just reasons why you don't. And he called it like artificially improving the team, which is kind of what it felt like, because like Danilo Gallinari was never going to be a long-term piece. He's artificially improving. He artificially improved the Hawks last year.
Yeah.
Bogdanovich may not even be like, he's not. He's a lot older than a lot of people think he is. He's closer to 30 than he is to Trae Young.
1992. I think he's 30 this year.
Yeah, he's 30. So that's just, that to me is that's what he's talking about when you're wondering, like, what does it mean to artificially improve the team? Like, that's what he's talking about, is to throw players onto your team that makes you feel like your core is a lot better than it really is. Exactly. And then you get to a place where those guys are gone and you're left with what? Like, maybe your young guys aren't good enough, and then you're not sustainable. Like what Presti wants to do, and he made it very clear today. He's like, he wants to establish the baseline of what you're going to be, and then add to that later. Like he will not add to it until you know that you've got your like 3 or 4 core guys that are going to make you a 50-win team no matter what, and then maybe you can add 2 or 3 pieces that make you a 60-win team, or make you like a real title contender. And that's what the picks are for. I mean, he talked about how much players that were traded in recent years cost. And he's like, that's, 2 picks for Vucevic. It took, this many picks to get CJ McCollum, a first and a second for CJ McCollum. He's like, those are the, 1 first-round pick, last year for Larry Nance. Like, those are the things. That's what those picks are for later.
Yeah.
Like, for now, I think they're going to be on the team, but later those picks are to, just imagine having a core of like Josh, Shea, whoever they pick in this draft, whoever they pick in the next draft, and then being able to take a first round pick and a second to bring in the player of a caliber of CJ McCollum to be your like 4th best guy. Like, that's like the power of like what they're talking about within this team building. And like, that's where it like should all kind of converge and make sense, is like, it's not time yet, because you don't want to hit the accelerator button and that guy be gone. And then what do you really have? Like, you don't even know what you really have.
And the power of the button that OKC can push is way higher than CJ McCollum for a first and a second. They have so many first-round picks, that they can, if there is a disgruntled star, and you have a very good core, like a very, very good core. I mean, a 50-win core.
Mm-hmm.
you can pick that guy.
Yeah.
Say that Miles Bridges doesn't want to be in Charlotte any longer.
Yeah.
And he says, "Hey, get me out of here." And you just
special guest Royce Young on the pod live.
Just checking in. Hey,
you say hi to Michele.
Hey, Michele. Hey, good to see you, Michele.
Hey, Royce. Nice to see you too.
All right.
All right. See ya.
Hey, this is the first time that I had. Well, no, this is the second one. We had a podcast on Darius Baisley.
Yeah.
After the draft a couple of years ago. Exciting moment for me.
That was a very exciting moment. Anyways, what were we saying? I don't remember.
About Miles Bridges. I mean, just the first name that pops into my head, but he may be a star, like maybe not a super duper star, but a guys that you need 3 first-round picks, or 2+1 to get. So, and Presti will have the power to do so. Speaking of like trade moves, free agency and stuff like that, he said a very interesting thing about the CBA and a very wrong thing about the CBA. I'm positive that he was wrong. He said, in order to enjoy the NBA, you shouldn't enjoy the CBA. What? Like, this is what we live for. Like, CBA is awesome. The fact so that no, I was kidding. But he spoke about 2023 and the new CBA, and it was right after the question about extensions for Baisley and Dort. And to me, that was, hey, unless it's something that I am 100% sure it will not screw us up, those talks are going to wait.
Yeah, definitely. That I got that feeling too, and we had talked about that. I guess it was Alex and I talked about it last Wednesday too. Is that talking about the extensions for both of those guys? It's like you just wait.
Yeah,
because I think, and he acted like those moves. He even said it like those moves are like so small, and so like inconsequential to like what we're trying to do. Like he said, that's just, I can't remember what the term was, but he just made it seem like those are just such small things, like what we're trying to do, which just means to me that like and we have to remember, like, keep our eye on the ball here. It's like, it's about Shea, it's about Josh, it's about this next draft pick, and then it's about maybe the 23 draft, and then what can we acquire to add to this squad from there. And maybe it is Dort, maybe it is Baisley, maybe it is Poku, maybe it is those guys, but maybe it's not.
Yeah.
Perhaps it's something bigger. Perhaps it's role players that are more specifically hand-picked that are already in the NBA that would complement like that trio or a group of 4, that are like, okay, like we really like Lou Dort. However, we really need a Duncan Robinson kind of guy instead. And we're going to use 2 first-round picks to go get specifically him. And we're going to bring him in. Like they're just, they've set themselves up to where they're going to have a lot of spending power in the league with regards to draft picks. And they've set themselves up too where they're going to have a lot of avenues to get there. If they're able to stay patient, which it seems like they're absolutely staying patient. They're absolutely going to stay patient with this process.
Yeah, and probably the ultimate sign of patience was the first answer that Presti gave after the 30-minute monologue to Barry, which was, hey, Barry, I think he asked about which needs this team has, like center, some shooters, blah, blah, blah. And it was, like, a fair question. It's something that we marveled through the season. So let's ask him. And Presti said, hey, we don't know what we need now. We are so early in the process. And what they need now, you can say shooting. Okay. Suppose that next season, you draft a lights out shooter, and Trey Mann improves so much that you start him and he's a 42% shooter. Would you say that we need shooters? probably a little bit less likely. You may need a strong wing defender because you see that Trey Mann works better with Shea, that Giddy can play the 3 and the 4, but you really need a wing stopper. So it's and to me, what Sam said about the Perkins trade was, hey, we really needed him to, and we discovered that we need a similar guy when we played consequential games.
Yeah.
It's in those moments.
Yes. Talked about physicality, which is what Perk is like the human embodiment of physicality. He essentially just talked a lot about in his really throughout it that this team doesn't play physical enough basketball to be a winning team. Like they're not a physical basketball team. And if you really want to play games of consequence, like you have to be a physical team. And that's like one other way that like they're just really far away. And he said, he said when answering Barry's question, it was just really funny. It was like, we could be here all night if I had to talk about the needs of this roster. Like the needs of this roster are great. And he also said within this whole thing, I'm still just trying to like process it all. I feel like I was drinking from a fire hose. And he just talked about how like they're still really far away from where they want to be.
Yeah.
And so to me, it just signals like Thunder fans like continue to remain patient. But I do think that there is a world where this pays off greatly. And he talked a lot about like what are the playoffs going to look like. I just thought that was so cool. Like, what are the playoffs going to be like when they finally get back there? Because what he wants and what he still wants is for them to get there and for it to be like, and we're going to be back here next year and the year after. He said every one of you are going to be driving to the arena to a playoff game, and there's going to be families walking in to these playoff games here. You know, he's like, I don't know when it will be, whenever it is, and you're going to really feel like you earned it, like you were a part of it, like you're one of the real ones. And I think, you know, the people that listen to this podcast can be like, take pride in that, like you're still following this team. You know, and we got a lot of people on the stream right now. Like if you're listening to this on YouTube, like you're one of those people that is going to, whether you're walking into the arena or watching on TV or whatever it is, like when this Thunder team gets back to the playoffs, like you're going to be like, man, I was there when Jalen Horde was hoarding the boards. You know, you're going to remember everything and remember every step that it took to get there. And just, I think the Thunder allowing this process to play out, I think is really important. And it could end up paying just massive dividends down the road. And I think part of that, like the first real building block to this whole thing is Shea. Yeah. And the confidence that he's exuding is very, very interesting. Let's end on a quick question from Hoops Talk 69 says,
thank God
on physicality mean that they will lean away from Chet.
Well, can I get first dibs on this question?
Take it.
I watched 442 possessions today of Chet Holmgren. And I just have to watch the last, I think, 12 about the last game that he played against Arkansas. And to me, he may be not strong enough, but the guy wants it. The guy wants to
physical.
Be physical.
He's not. He
doesn't
lack physicality. Physical. He lacks strength.
Exactly.
He does not lack physicality.
He's the guy who wants to destroy you.
Yeah, he does.
We will talk about him in various platforms. I think quite soon. Yes. But the physicality is not something that he doesn't shy away from contacts.
No,
he actually welcomes it in both hands of the ball. So
get ready. Like I think it's the opposite. Honestly, I think it's the opposite.
Why do we agree on everything? Like we need to stop. Say something wrong on Chet so that I can be mad at you.
Chet's too jumpy as a defender.
No, that's just wrong.
I'm trying to be wrong. Okay. All right, everybody. We're going to end it here. So if you're watching on YouTube, this is all you're getting. Okay. If you're listening on the podcast, I am going to attach Sam Presti's 2 hour and 13-minute long interview to the end of this podcast. It's going to be almost a 3-hour show with the ads in. It's going to be a 3-hour show on whatever platform you're listening to. So if you're on YouTube, get ready for that. You can download that. Make sure that you search Down to Dunk on iTunes. You can leave us a 5-star Apple Podcast review. That would be so nice if you would do that. So yeah, YouTube, it's not here. Podcasts, it's going to be there, the whole thing. So I'll release that sometime this evening. So look out for that. Hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. And we will talk to you guys again on Wednesday.